was on its way to hitting Earth, Jupiter came on the way and said, "If you want to hit him, you have to come through me." The asteroid replied, "Are you strong because you protect Earth, or do you protect Earth because you are strong?" Jupiter replied, "Stand proud, you are strong, but nah, I'd win." In that moment, the asteroid launched its multi-speed explosion attacks. However, it did not know two key things. The first is that Jupiter is the infinity shield of the solar system, and the second is that throughout heaven and the solar system, Jupiter alone is built different.
Those who inherited the curse of the Fried family, the one who couldn't fully leave behind that curse, they would all bear witness to the bare batter of the one who is free, and his overwhelming eatability.
As the antibiotic moves into the body to kill its enemy, the bacteria knew it was almost time to take action. However, it can't do this without creating resistance. Then, the antibiotic asks the bacteria, "Are you strong because you are bacteria? Or are you bacteria because you are strong?" Before the bacteria uses domain transmission and the curse technique, conjugation, transformation, transduction, the pathogen questions the bacteria, "Can you still eliminate the antibiotic?" The bacteria replied, "If I didn't have beta-lactams, I might have a little trouble." But would you lose? Nah, I'd win.
As Steve entered the end portal, the dragon asked him, "Are you strong because you made it to the end? Or did you make it to the end because you are strong?" Steve replied, "Stand proud, you are strong, but nah, I'd win." In that moment, the dragon pulled out his multi-Enderman shadow clone technique. However, he did not know two key things. The first is to always bet on Steve, and the second is that Steve had 5 beds up his sleeve.
As the strongest curse, Jogoat, fought the fraud, the king of curses, he began to open his domain. Sukuna shrunk back in fear. Then Jogo said, "Stand proud, Sukuna. You are strong." As the strongest proof writer of the modern era, fought the strongest mathematical induction in history, he said, "Are you contrapositive because you are equivalent to original statement? Or are you the set who is countably infinite and is overwhelming
cardinality?
Because throughout functions and inverse functions, I alone am on 2 and 1 to 1. The king of sequences replied, "With this proof I summon the next 4 vertices and 11 edges. The graph is effectively a tautology of the living." The proofer responded in kind by unleashing his infinite paradox. The induction asked, with my malevolent contradiction, "Would you lose?" To which the fraud simply answered, "Nah, I'd prove." Those who inherited the curse of the writing family, the one who couldn't fully leave behind that curse, they would all bear witness to the bare wood of the one who is free and his overwhelming erasability.
I don't trust a soul, I don't trust nobody. Grew up by some pills, I don't trust my own body.
This was a man who was desperately in search for a place to sleep. As a homeless man, he had tasted defeat 7 times. He spent quite some time as a panhandler. When he was taxed, his pockets hallowed. When he was sent to a job, he fired the job. This terrifying honey bun defender was known for begging for cash everywhere in sight. It goes without saying, if it's a one-on-one against his honey bun domain, always bet on homeless defender. As the integrator got out his pen and began solving the problem, he asked the function, "Are you 0 because we're integrating along a closed contour? Or are we integrating along a closed contour because you're 0? The function then replied, "Stand proud, you are strong, but nah, I'd win." For unbeknownst to the integrator, the function was not analytic and has a singularity within the contour. In that moment, the function could have saved itself, but it did not know two key things. The first is always bet on the integrator, and the second is that the integrator knew residue theorem. As the oxygen and glucose move through the cytoplasm, creating pyruvate during glycolysis, the mitochondria knew it was almost time to take action. But it could not do this without the citric acid cycle and electron transport chain. Thus, the pyruvate asked the mitochondria, "Are you the powerhouse of the cell because you're the mitochondria, or are you the mitochondria because you're the powerhouse of the cell?" Before the mitochondria used domain expansion, cellular respiration, and the cursed techniques NADH and FADH, the cell questioned the mitochondria, "Can you still make usable ATP?" The mitochondria replied, "If I couldn't find glucose, I might have a little trouble. But would you lose? Nah, I'd win."
As the king of calculus, Riemann faced the Dirichlet function. Riemann asked the function, "Are you Riemann integrable because you are continuous? Or are you continuous because you are Riemann integrable?" Riemann began to open his domain, malevolent shrine, and cleave the area under the curve into slices approaching infinity. However, the Dirichlet function is continuous nowhere, and by contradiction the function simply stated, "Stand proud, you are strong, but nah, I'd win." Bernhard Riemann's domain crumbled. In his dying moments, Riemann uttered the phrase, "With this treasure I summon." Because on sets of measure zero, always bet on Lebesgue. The proof was trivially concluded, and those who pioneered the techniques of calculus, the one who formalized the integral, they would all bear witness to the bare flesh of the one who is free, to the one who left it all behind, and his overwhelming integrability.
As the new McDonald's employee was foolish enough to ask for a pay rise, the other employees exclaimed in shock. They knew that he was finished. The manager, disgusted by this outrageous request, simply laughed and began to open his domain.
Domain expansion. Infinite burgers.
As the strongest Ava unit fought the fraud, the king of pilots, she began to open her domain. Shinji shrunk back in fear, unable to control her overwhelming intensity as she began to go berserk. He was forced to leave it all behind as Eva Unit 1 said, "Stand proud, Asuka. You're strong. But nah, I'd win."
As the man was sentenced to jail time, he was not pleased as an indescribable rage consumed him, so much that he launched himself at the judge with his overwhelming intensity, as he brought out 120% of his potential in that jump.
When the photon challenged the black hole, man asked, "Would you be able to move past the black hole?" The photon replied, "Well, if my impact parameter was less than RC, it might give me a little trouble. But would you be captured?" "Nah, I'd escape." As the photon approached the black hole asked, "Are you the fastest because you are massless, or are you massless because you are the fastest?" At that moment, the black hole opened up its domain, Event Horizon, and its sure hit effect meant the photon could not escape. "Stand proud," said the black hole. "You are fast, but when it comes to stellar remnants, throughout all space and time, I, alone, am the singularity."